The facts matter.
Good morning, everyone. Virgo here. It is July 28th, 2020. Happy Tuesday to everyone. So, I've had some really interesting comments with regards to the Monica Greer justice stuff that's been put up by the Virgo Triad channel over the last few days. Now, for those of you that are not aware, Monica Greer Justice is a SovCit that recently had a 7-hour standoff in Columbus, Ohio, where two police officers were wounded by shots that were fired by her, and she was apprehended off the top of her home and taken into custody. Now, I've gotten everything in the comments section from, was she actually released? Because there's a rumor going around saying that she bonded out almost immediately. There is also another rumor that's going around claiming that she fell from the property and died. There's another rumor going around claiming that they shot her on scene. And all of these things are unsubstantiated rumors. So let me take you through the history of this particular party and show you some things that I was able to locate on her. And we will kind of take a look at everything. Now, I want to say up front, if you're just here to find out what the status currently is in the court, that is not something I'm going to be able to provide you with. Now, I've done a tremendous amount of looking over the last 24 hours, and I've even made a couple of phone calls. But here's the thing. Most people were under the impression that she was actually being served an eviction notice, in which there is an eviction notice that is in the court with regards to her and her partner or wife. However, in reality, if you watch the news footage on this, you will find that they were actually serving her what's called a probate warrant. This is with regards to questioning whether she would be sane to even stand trial or see a judge. They wanted her evaluated due to the things that she was saying prior to the cops coming out to serve it to her the day that the standoff began. So my guess is, and I believe this is an accurate one, my guess is that she was immediately taken into custody to be evaluated based on the order that the judge had signed before the standoff began, where they wanted her to be evaluated at the hospital to ensure that her mental health was stable enough to even be in court. There is no record of anything that has happened within a docket style that would be up on any of the docket court sites out of Franklin County, which of course is the county that this would be involved in for Columbus, Ohio. And that would make sense, because when a party is having to be mentally evaluated before they even go into court, and that happens to be the exact warrant that was being served, it's going to take several days. Generally, there's a 72-hour mandatory hold. And then, of course, after being evaluated, if she was found unstable, she very well could just be hospitalized. Until she actually goes to an arraignment hearing, there isn't going to be a docket started because nothing has occurred within the courtroom. The only thing we have at this moment is the fact that there was a probate warrant that was to be served upon her, and that is when the standoff took place. So let's not buy into conspiracy theories that are unsubstantiated, that are not proven in any way, shape, or form, and certainly that are outside of the box under normal circumstances. Now, I'm not saying that I'm 100% on what my thought process is here. I'm not absolutely 100% that is where she's at. I don't have any hard evidence to say, here's the hospital administration documentation with her name on it. But this would be normal. This would be precedent for when someone is served this form of warrant and ends up having to be evaluated by a psychiatric hospital. So for those of you that are actually spreading conspiracy theories with regards to this, please stop, because sooner or later we will see a docket. And when we see that docket, we will be able to determine from that point forward what is happening with this case. And the fact that it's been a week does not mean that that's out of the ordinary. It simply means that her case has been scheduled for a later time to be arraigned and then move forward once she is found mentally competent. Now, if anybody has actual proof that she just bonded out and went back home after firing upon 2 officers, I welcome you to send it to me, and I will certainly update my video. But my guess is that that's not going to happen with a scenario like this, okay? At the very least, we would be talking about attempted manslaughter, and that's that would be someone considered violent and dangerous. So we're just gonna have to go with what we've got for right now. But I do want to show you some history here. So this is the detail for a case number 468518 that was done over 10 years ago. And this, I believe, wait, let me double check. Franklin County Probate Court, yes. And this was done in 1999. The case was opened in September, closed very rapidly in October. This is a civil case for a name change. The case name being Monica Lynn Tyndall. And she, as you see, the case subtype is for a name change. The new name was changed to Monica Greer Justice. Now, I'm not even absolutely positive of her partner's name, but I believe, due to some of the other information that I found, that her name is actually Greer. Last name is Greer. So that is when Monica, I believe, changed her middle name to Greer. But don't quote me on that, because I only have my, a guess to go with, because it's obvious that that is the partner's last name. That is not something that Monica confirmed herself. All right, here we go. This happens to be a Franklin County Municipal Court case with regards to case number 012182. This has to do with an eviction. This was filed on April 16th of 2020. And as you can see here, the case was closed on the same day. 2 months later. Here we go. The deposition. 2 months later, so June 16th, 2020. Everything was filed, paid for by the plaintiff, the defendant being Monica, of course. And as you can see, eviction hearing 6/15/2020, judgment for restitution of premises. Okay, so the judgment was that the property was to be given up. Now, if you recall, we watched the videos and she's in the basement of that property. So yes, it makes sense that she was found to need to be mentally evaluated based on all of the things that had occurred up to that point, and perhaps at the same time with being mentally evaluated, they could then take the property back and give it to the rightful owner. So that is the documentation from that. Now, there is an additional case that appears to have been filed against her spouse or her partner, which last name Greer, of course, as I stated, that it appears was originally back in at some point in 2019 was a case in Texas. Again, this is just my guess that she changed her middle name to Greer because of her partner's name being Greer. All right, so there you have it. There's a name change there. We're going to take a look at a couple of more things. Okay, guys, just to confirm that you are actually aware of that she did state at one point that her last name had changed to Greer, is here that had been placed in the local newspaper, where she filed a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. She calls herself here Greer Justice, and Monica, formerly known as Monica Lynn Tyndall, formerly known as Monica L. Greer, and her doing business as Pink Incorporated and doing business as Attention to Detail Incorporated. So there is evidence here that she has used many, many names, which leads me to believe that although she has a legal name change to Monica Greer Justice, and I will continue to research dockets in Franklin County, Ohio, under that name, she has used many, many aliases in the past, and it appears as though she has done at least one, if not two, name changes through the court system. So we're going to have to, this is going to take a while, and it also is possible that it takes a while for her to be mentally evaluated or assisted in the event that she's found to be not competent to stand any kind of trial. As I said, let me repeat this again. Before anybody goes in to any kind of weird conspiracy with regards to this woman, the people that were there, number one, and that were doing the story from dispatch, not just the police officers, but also the actual news channels, stated that without incident she was apprehended off the top of her roof, and that is actually what it appears from the video. There is no suggestion that Monica passed away, whether it be falling off of a roof, that it appeared that that officer had a very good hold on her when he grabbed her off of the roof. Also, there is no, the neighbors, no one else is aware of any kind of shooting or snuffing out, as you would call it, or any damage being done to her in any way, shape, or form other than when she got hurt in the wrist, and that had to do with during the time that she was actually firing on the officers, and someone fired back. She was hit in the wrist, and we all saw that from the videos. If you did not see the videos are actually available on my channel on the live stream where I talk about the standoff. Okay, so we have to take into consideration that there is no standing evidence of that in any way, shape, or form, guys. What I do want to make sure you know, though, is in this particular scenario, we're dealing with someone who has a sovereign ideology, we'll call it, okay? The SovCit ideology is one that takes you down many, many rabbit holes, and we've gone down a lot of those rabbit holes here on the Virgo Triad channel in order to debunk them. She was very, very heavily wrapped up into that movement, along with a few other movements like Q. She definitely was following many of the channels and pages on Facebook and groups that have a very, well, pseudo-legal type of basis, okay? They think they understand the laws, or they cherry-pick the laws in order to make them sound more logical, in order to further their agenda. But they're not. They are cherry-picked, and they are not complete, and they're erroneous. But she was very deep into this, and as a result, she was very clearly very paranoid also. I want to play you a video that I located of her that had not been removed as of yet, to give you an idea of her mindset. This is a lot of word salad, but it's very interesting because you will see that there's information in it that you've probably never even heard from another SovCit before. I was questioning originally how long she had been a part of this movement, but it appears that she started back in 99 at least. So this is much further than I originally thought. So I want to go ahead and provide you with this video, and hopefully this will give you a better peek into the mind of Monica Greer Justice. And we will be continuing to follow this case as far out as necessary. I also did find, just so that you're aware, the original time that she assaulted a police officer and ended up spending 18 months in prison. She did serve that entire time, by the way. And many people have claimed that, oh, yeah, she got out, this and that. They're people from the groups that she was involved in. And that's why I'm guessing that a lot of the people that are making claims that she immediately bonded out, and nobody could withstand her paperwork, and she knows that the courts are illegitimate, and she was able to do something nobody else has ever been able to do. Okay, again, people from the group, because it's simply not true. And until there's some form of proof that what you're saying has actually happened in the form of Monica actually showing her face and doing a video and maybe showing that documentation she supposedly used to bond out, and I mean pretty rapidly here, I'm just simply not going to believe that. I believe that she was apprehended as we saw on the video. I believe that she has been taken in for mental evaluation in the area of one of the psychiatric hospitals, and I believe she is still there, and we will see a docket as soon as she's arraigned. So without further ado, here is the mindset of Monica Greer Justice back in October of 2018, and give you a pretty good glimpse into her belief structure.
Doing YouTube and Facebook. I actually have my computer hardwired to a Cat5 instead of wireless. So let's see how long the imagery and everything that I put forth. Let's see if I think last time I got 9 minutes. Hello. I think last time I got 9 minutes on Facebook and 6 minutes on YouTube. So I'm going to try to do domestic institutions again. I'm actually recording this. I lost the recording last time, so I couldn't give you the full 40 minutes of what I was discussing. So I'm going to redo it. And hopefully with this live Cat5 wire, show you that this is how through broadband and Bluetooth they actually interfere with people doing things, and they hack you in that respect too. So I have a live Cat5 hardwired to my laptop, so we'll see if that doesn't bypass some of the interference. In any case, I wanted to speak about domestic institutions. I'm going to give a couple minutes and to let people on Facebook, and I'm also doing live on YouTube too. So let's see. Let's hope this gets out, folks. I don't want to be watched on YouTube a lot. So let's talk about domestic institutions. So first off, you understand what domestic institutions are. Domestic institutions is a legal and lawful term. It is those institutions to which the state can argue state supremacy, except in situations where the person that the state is dealing with is a foreign state to them, which all children are, by the way. So all of our children, until they consciously join the ranks of those who waive their foreign state immunity by affecting commerce within the United States under Title 28, 1604, are deemed foreign. Now, they have made our children not foreign by assigning them a land patent, which is what your certificate of live birth is. This is my dog here, sorry. So the certificate of live birth, not the birth certificate, but the certificate of live birth is a land patent that's been issued by the corporate state. They offer those land patents as liens, basically. Now, if you look at anything about land patents, those land patents still allow you the right to commerce. That's the one exercise that a land patent does not bar you from. So your corporate state has issued a land patent for your flesh, not your incorporeal hereditaments, but your corporeal hereditaments, and they have issued a surety, a bond against it, and that's where your treasury accounts come from. The birth certificate is a record of that issuance of the land patent, and then the Social Security number is actually an insurance policy by the corporate state on top of that. So we have layers of insurance that are owed to us as the beneficiaries and creditors of the estates and the trust that they're operating in. So understand that domestic institutions by law are those things which the state has super jurisdiction over, that the federal government is not supposed to be engaged in or interfering with. But they have included within those instruments the ability to control you and your flesh by creating land patents against your flesh. So that they're actually getting you to willfully waive your foreign state immunity later on in life by the unknownness of what your choices are and where you are in the law compared to them. So the domestic institutions are all that we're arguing about within everything you see in politics. The domestic institutions of state include the ability to deal with foreign immigrants within our borders that come into the corporate states. Good to see you. So the domestic institutions, anything related to things within the border of the state, so child custody hearings, criminality, and so I want to give you just a brief history of what domestic institutions are so that you understand where you're at in the law versus where you think you are in their propaganda. Okay, the concept of domestic institutions actually came up lawfully and legally during just before the Civil War, when you all are knowing that there are just one 13th Amendment. That's not true. There's three. There's the first 13th Amendment, which is the Titles Nobility Amendment, which is de jure. It was passed de jurely between the ages or time frames of 1809 to 1811. The War of 1812 resulted in its passage because the passage of the Titles of Nobility Act actually created the Sustacay Trust, where the United States of America was set aside in the Sustacay because we removed ourselves from the law of the realm and the overseeing arbiters of that, which are the esquires for the bar unions and all the temple bars under all the Masonic lodges. You have to understand a little bit about that, which I could go into at a later time, but let's just put it this way. The temple bar is the first lodge that was issued against the council that created the 33rd degree Masonic orders, which is the Council of the East and West, or the East and West Rite. They called it the East-West Council, which is where the old Masonic forms of constitutions, which are corporate charters truly, which allowed the true fiefdom kings, the ones that the people put forward in the Scottish picts and stuff like that, to access banking through the Pope. That's what a constitution does. It's a banking charter of a country, which makes you a nation. Okay, so the Masonic constitutions were merged in the two different forms of law: the East pillar of law, and the West. I would call them the West pillar of law, and they were merged together in the East-West Council, which was held just before the formation of our republic. And then from that council, they created what's called the Mother Council, which was established in South Carolina, whose mandate was to merge the two forms of law, the old ecclesiastic Roman civil law and the monarchical law, and then the Scottish, the ancient accepted Scottish rites, the Picts to Tanistry. So our Constitution's purpose is to merge those two under the ancient and accepted Scottish rites of Tanistry, which allows you to be a republican form of government, where the kings and queens can appoint Tanists, administrators. So the East-West Council created the Mother Council, which created the evolution of the 33rd degree Mason. So when you're 33rd, you're supposed to be able to merge those two concepts morally and spiritually and commercially within all that you do. From that council, the first lodge is the Temple Bar in the city of London. So that when you hear about the Temple Bar is the first lodge of the American Council. Now, the American Mother Council, which is in South Carolina, has a secondary name called the a Southern Council, or the Council for the Southern United States of America. And it was founded here in 1809. So all of the instruments that you think you know, you've not been told of. One, because Masonic people keep their stuff secret. Why, I don't know, other than to allow the Masonic Constitution constructs to expose the Baal worshiping Satan cult that came through the other three crowns, the monarchical crown, the ecclesiastic crown, and the Roman civil crown, which had all been corrupted by Babylonian slave trade. So you have Babylonian slave trade versus tanistry. That's what our two crowns are, or where all of our fourth crown merge into that. They merge into our fourth crown. So when you talk about the 13th Tona, we said, hey, we're going to be like the Scottish Picts. And our Constitution is actually the second declaration of not being bound by the British rule. The first declaration is called the Declaration of Aberoth, which was done by the ancient accepted Scottish Pict Rite clans, which had been evolved. The Masonic rites actually evolved their law and established them as what's called rites, R-I-T-E. So the Masons, we all talk bad about them, they're the only reason we have constitutional law. They're the only reason we have established rights that are in opposition to what the papacy of the time was doing. And they established true sovereign king law, meaning the kings and the queens that the people, such as the Picts and the Scots and the landed people of the regions, had assigned as kings, not the ones the Pope had said were kings and queens. So that's the difference between the big S sovereign and a little S sovereign. A big S sovereign is someone who has been determined by the people at large